Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to East
What is
and
up,
Dan,
everybody? It is the EastandDan podcast.
episode 13.
Merry
We're
Christmas.
back. This is the Christmas episode. This episode's going to be amazing.
rush.
We have our Christmas bets that are basically a free gift from Santa Claus. You guys will be getting some good money. And then we also have a D1 football player coming onto the show. D1 at UNT 6'8" O-lineman. North Texas.
And then at the end, we have our weekly come-up player of the week.
You guys
You're not
are
going to want to miss this one.
This is going to be a great episode.
And really
without further ado,
quickly, we have one shout-out request.
One shout-out request. So,
OrangeMan79201. Orange Man, shout out to you. Thank you for commenting. If you want a shout-out, just comment down below. So now,
without further ado, we're going on to our bets.
Let's go.
All right, guys, on to the bets. Dan, let's start. You can start it off.
All right, so now it's time to take it a bit slow and really dive into these bets. We have really good bets, Christmas gifts from Santa, and yeah. So our first bet of the day, I would like to say it's not a terribly risky one. So this is definitely one you want to do. It is Baker Mayfield to get over 250 passing yards versus the Panthers. So you might look at this bet and be, oh, 250, that's a lot. But if you really look at this game, the last 3 games, Baker has been reaching this threshold, and he is playing against the Panthers, who are one of the worst pass defense. And pretty sure if you look at stats, they're around, for pass defense, they're around the 24-25 mark for defense. And so the Panthers also have nothing to play for. They want the number 1 overall pick. That's what they want. So that the Panthers want the number 1 overall pick. So they honestly want to lose this football game. And the Buccaneers, they really want to go out there and make that push for higher seed in playoffs. Already the number 1 and 2 seed already locked in. But they could still push for playoffs. And then if you look at the standings for the NFL, they still need to keep winning games. That's not going to end well with them. Right now, they are currently, if it was now, they'd be sitting at not in playoffs. They are not currently going to be in playoffs. The Falcons have the tiebreaker over them. The Falcons and them are both 8-7. So Tampa really wants to win this game to go make playoffs. And Tampa are 1 loss away from being eliminated from playoff contention. So the only teams that can still make the playoffs that want to are the Seahawks and the Bucks, who are both in the hunt still. So if Tampa Bay goes out and wins, they gotta hope that Atlanta goes out and lose. But remember, what I was always told, control what you can control. The Falcons are up against the Commanders, who are a strong team. They play the Commanders Sunday night. That's a game you want to watch. Commanders could storm in because the Commanders are also pushing for playoffs. The Commanders are 10-5 right now, but could still be eliminated from playoffs. They have not locked themselves in playoffs yet. So the Commanders have something to play for, so they're going to be playing with a lot of fire. And Baker Mayfield is playing the Panthers, and Baker Mayfield wants to make playoffs. So Baker Mayfield is going to be playing with a lot of fire. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Baker goes 300 to 350 passing yards, because the Bucs are going to be wanting to pass the ball, because the Panthers have been known to keep games close. They are constantly in one-score games. They actually beat the Cardinals last week, and we had a couple bets on that game. The Buccaneers could really use this win because they're pushing for playoffs, so definitely look out for Baker Mayfield over 251 passing yards against the Panthers on DraftKings.
Holy yap sesh. Anyways, I'm going to go on to my bet. I have Kyler Murray over 225 passing yards. It seems like a lot, especially for Kyler Murray. But they're coming off of a loss, and they're going to be wanting to fire. All right, I'm not sure their record right now, but I'm pretty sure they are in the hunt for the playoffs. And James Conner is out, if you do not know, so they're going to be relying on Kyler Murray to pass the ball. And also, they're going against the Rams, who is the 8th worst defense, allowing 338 yards per game. So, this is going to be a very good game for Kyler Murray. They're going to be trying to win this game. They're still in the hunt. and they think Kyler Murray's their guy, so they're gonna try and make this playoff run. So this is gonna be a very good game for Kyler Murray. They're gonna be passing, they're gonna be doing all this, and the Rams are not a very good defense. So this is gonna be a very good game for Kyler Murray. That's why I think he's gonna get 225 passing yards. And this is not an over/under. This is just an over. You have to choose over on DraftKings. I still think this
If
is
you go
gonna
to
hit.
DraftKings, if you go on DraftKings, you're gonna go over to the NFL, go to passing props, scroll down to Kyler Murray, and click on, which one did you say?
225 passing yards. I'll put it up on the
225, it's
screen
at-
somewhere, or later in the video, we'll put it all up on the screen. So,
Yeah.
Dan, you can go on to your next one.
So my next bet is an over/under one. So again, if you go on DraftKings and go over to passing, receiving props, and then go to receiving over/under, Malik Neighbors over 67.5 receiving yards versus the Colts. So Neighbors, you're not going to tell me otherwise. Has undoubtedly been the best rookie receiver in the league this year. And when you are the best rookie receiver, you want to keep going because you want to win. He's probably not going to win Rookie of the Year because Jaden Daniels has been so good this year. But he still wants to up his stats as much as possible. And the Giants are just going to be passing the ball every time. So, and Malik Neighbors has been averaging over this 67-yard. The last time he didn't get that was back November 10th against the Panthers when they played, I think, in like Germany. But Malik Neighbors is definitely going to be wanting to get this yardage, and they're going to be passing the ball a lot because they don't have a lot to play for. It doesn't matter how many points he's scoring, but he will be getting a lot of receiving yards, especially because they are playing against the Colts, who do not have a good pass defense. Actually, the 29th defense in the league right now. And Neighbors should breeze through this one. So, second bet, Malik Neighbors over 67.5 receiving yards versus the Colts. And East has left us. Unfortunately, he is now dead. Oh, he's back. Oh yeah, by the way, this podcast, Christmas, I will be eating this Snickers bar. And I got Santa with me. Yeah, not gonna lie, me and the viewers thought you didn't make it. Not sure where you went.
Oh.
Me and the viewers didn't know if you made it.
All right, on to my next bet. You might think this is a pretty risky one, but it's actually not risky at all. Is Jamar Chase over 110 receiving yards? This is a plus 145, even though it shouldn't be. Jamar Chase is averaging 100 yards per game right now. And him and Joe Burrow are going off, but they are going against Denver, a not very strong defense. And, of course, Bengals, they're just going to be looking. They want to win some games. They need to boost the morale. And they need to win a few games if they want to keep Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Bengals could. The Bengals could still make playoffs.
And Jamar Chase is having the year of his life right now. He's averaging 100 yards. So 110 yards is not very bad. It's not very hard to get for him right now, especially going against a Denver team that just let up 36 points to the Chargers. All right, good team, but you should do better against the Chargers. And also, morale's going to be low considering they just lost 36-24 against the Chargers in Thursday Night Football. So I think this is going to be a good game for Jamar Chase. 110 yards I think will be pretty easy for him. Plus 145, so you will be making some bank. And I think I like to call this one a gift from Santa Claus. So, Jamar Chase, over 110 passing yards. Go get it on DraftKings. I think this is going to be a very free bet. And also, I just want to shout out parents. I got a Duke football.
Yeah, I definitely want to shout out parents. The webcam you're watching on right now, I got given. This microphone was expensive, and they gave it to me. And they gave me this Snickers bar, which is so good. They also gave me this book, Trump, The Art of the Deal.
So,
yeah. W in the chat for parents.
I think this is really cool. I've never held one of these footballs before.
Yeah.
They're Duke. If you don't know, this is what they play with in the NFL games. Very cool. very awesome. Maybe one day if we signed our names on this, it will be worth money. So,
I highly doubt that.
hey, God has a plan. And
Oh,
also,
yeah.
one thing, God is great, God is good. Honestly, there's one thing I want to say. We had an experience with last night, and I think we had a sign from God. I'm not going to go too into depth. We're having a deep conversation, and at the right time, at 2 a.m. at night, we were talking about what we're going to do today and what was going to work and what was going to happen. We were talking about how many times we could have quit, but we didn't. If you guys don't know, we had a gaming channel that had a video that got 30,000 views and 10,000 likes, and that channel got deleted a week later. We don't know why. And we kept going because honestly, we love it. We love doing these podcasts. We enjoy it. And as we were talking about how God has a plan, somebody comments actually on our last video, and it pops up on my phone. We're on a call, and I'm just looking at my screen. This is gonna be something special. And that was like an awesome moment because I think we both really needed that at that time, and I barely even noticed it. I could have been looking at my screen because I was doing something, but I looked at my phone and I saw that notification. So, God is good. God is great. And
I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was lying, and then I thought it was him who commented it, but nah.
and I think we all need to acknowledge Christmas is not about Santa. It's about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
It's not about my costume.
It's not about his costume. So God is good. God is great. And on to the next sports bet.
So, our next bet is I have a game bet on DraftKings. It is the Saints, which are plus 1.5 against the Raiders. So first off, this is a home game for the Saints, and neither of these teams have anything to play for. So they both might as well just go try to win. And if you look at the quarterback matchup, I think the Saints are starting like Spencer Rattler. He is still a way better quarterback than Aiden O'Connell. Like, Aiden O'Connell is a terrible quarterback. I'm not sure. He looks like he's 55 and has been working on a farm his whole life. No offense. And the Saints are going to be really upset about, getting shut up by the Packers. So they will be playing with poise, and they'll be playing with a lot of fire. And the Raiders may even want to lose this game because they still want that number 1 overall pick, and they still want to grab Shedeur Sanders. So the Raiders do not want to win this game, and the Saints have no reason not to win this game. So Saints plus 1.5 against the Raiders, definitely be sure to use that one on DraftKings.
All right, so it's on to my turn. And my next bet, surprisingly enough, is Bo Nix over 250 passing yards. Seems like a lot. You're like, East, what are you doing? He's only averaging 215 passing yards a game. But he's going against the Bengals. They are the 4th worst defense in the NFL and the worst pass defense in the NFL. And they don't have a high morale right now because they are sucking. So, and Bo Nix, they're going to be trying to look for the comeback. They're going to try and win, and they're still in the hunt for the playoffs, I believe, right now. So they're going to pass this ball. They're going to be looking to win. And
We're still in the hunt for the playoffs right now?
Broncos, I think so. I believe.
Broncos, I think that. Oh yeah, they're definitely still in.
Yeah.
They are currently at the 7th seed. They should get in. It'll take a miracle for them to not get in. If they win, they will secure playoffs.
Yeah, they are going to be looking to win this game just to reassure themselves. So, Bo Nix over 250 passing yards. Once again, another plus 145. This is going to be bank and a gift from Santa. So, let's go.
Yeah, last game he did eclipse this number, and
once again,
and in four of his last 5, he's hit this.
Once again,
so
DraftKings plus 200 or 250 plus. So, Dan, you want to go on to your next bet?
All right, this is the 7th and final bet of the video, and call me biased, I don't really care. It's the Vikings plus 1 against the Packers. So the Vikings are the hottest team in the NFL right now, no doubt about it. They have I'm pretty sure, the longest winning streak in the NFL right now. The Vikings are one of the best teams in the NFL. If they're probably a top 4 or 5 team in the NFL, and it seems that no one can stop them right now. This is a home game for the Vikings, and the culture of this Vikings Packers rivalry is better than you'll ever is right now. Is the best rivalry in the NFL, just because it's two really good teams going at it, and when the Vikings hit their skull chant, you know it's done. That flag right there. When the Vikings hit their skull chant, it's over for the Packers. Their only home loss this year is to the best team in the NFL, which is the Lions. And if they can finish a game, because last time they started up the game 28-0 and almost blew it, but if they finish a game, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that they will win. Sam Darnold is back to his beginning of the season form, and he's playing like an MVP candidate again. And the Vikings have 3 of the best weapons in the receiving game in Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson. They will fly through this game. A home game against the Packers in one of the biggest atmospheres and one of the best stadiums in America. Vikings are going to win this game. So Vikings +1 versus the Packers. Take that bet. Skull.
All right, so to go over all of our bets, I'm going to just go through
We'll
mine.
flash them on the screen.
We'll flash them on the screen.
Flash them on the
I
screen.
have Jamar Chase over 110 yards, Bo Nix over 250 passing yards, and Kyler Murray over 225 passing yards. Dan, what are your bets?
My 4 bets this week are going to be the Saints +1.5 against the Raiders, the Vikings +1 versus the Packers, Baker Mayfield over 251.5 passing yards versus the Panthers, and Malik Neighbors over 67.5 yards versus the Colts. So those 7 bets are somewhere on the screen right now.
Somewhere on the screen.
They're probably everywhere on the screen. And also, our record is somewhere we are currently 5-3, a winning record. So you might want to trust these bets.
So,
and also, we had a podcast.
Yeah.
We had a podcast that we never posted that we went 5 for 5 on bets. So without further ado,
on to the next subject
segment.
And guys, the next subject is our guest, a D1 football player out of UNT, 6'8", O-lineman, Leighton.
Hello, everybody.
All right,
What's up, Leighton? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How about you?
We're doing good.
Pretty good. We're excited to get you on this.
We're very excited.
I'm excited to be here, man.
First guest of the EastandDan podcast. So this subject that we're gonna do, we just wanted to ask you some questions, man. How do you feel about that?
Ready to go. I'm excited.
All right,
dude.
so first thing, a lot of these people, our main target for this podcast are men that love football. Do you want to just tell us what's a day in the life like of a D1 football player?
It starts very early in the morning. That's for sure. I said we get there about 5 o'clock, and usually we'll do. Since I'm a freshman, I'm in the early group, like the development group, and we will do a workout and everything. We start about 5:30 usually. Get there at 5:30, and you have to be at 10 minutes early to everything. Like it starts at 5:30. It means if you're not walking in at 5:20, you're late. Right, then after that, they provide breakfast for us. So that's always good. You know, they have a rotation of restaurants they go through, and then we wait. We have a defensive lift and offensive lift after the development lift, so we kind of wait for them to get through their stuff. And then we go into meetings. Then after meetings, we prep. We go back to the locker room. We change for practice. Then after practice, man, we just gotta get let out for a day. Got classes and study hall and all sorts of stuff.
Of course, you're an O-lineman. Do you guys, in practice, are you mainly just doing drills with the O-lineman? Are you guys doing a lot of team stuff? What are practices like?
I would say you have we have 30 minutes of pre-practice, which is just warming up and doing basic prep, right? Then we have, an hour of individual work and an hour of teamwork. So, a lot of development work, but it's less even development as in hey, your kick step or hey, the way you punch. There's a lot more development towards this is how their defense behaves. This is how you counter it. During the off seasons when you get that individual every single movement development versus during the season is when you just really learn how to counter someone else's ability.
So it's mainly just prepping for the other team.
Yeah, even team, it's not one offense versus one defense. It's one offense versus defensive scouts who are running, the plays of the other team.
Okay. So one thing Are you guys like in the locker room? Are you like really close with everybody, or is it kind of you got your own group of friends and like you guys are all like kind of grouped together?
I mean, you definitely. So there's sections in the locker room. It's not like, oh, the O lineman over here, oh, the receivers over here. It's like just who you're set next to. And you do, after a certain point, after a certain amount of time, you get along better with those guys, not because you're avoiding anybody else, but because you just sit next to them every single day. You know, when you got like 30 minutes in between a meeting and your practice, after you get dressed, you got like 10 minutes to kind of sit there. You're just, talking with the guys around you, and that
Yeah.
does develop, a good relationship with them. But it's not like you're not friendly with the guys across the hall.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
as somebody that's
So
running a company, like you're running a company, you're doing classes, you're like practicing football, you're up early in the morning. If you guys don't know his company, Tagged, he makes shirts and different clothing products. You guys should go check it out. How is it running a company, college, and sports?
yeah, how is it like balancing all of that and not taking away anything from any of them?
It's kind of nonstop. I think the biggest thing is kind of adjusting like your schedule accordingly. Like I don't have classes on Friday. I have one class on Wednesday, right? So it's like, okay, sweet. I have all day Friday. As soon as I'm done with lift whatever, I get to focus on my other two things. I get to focus on my business, which is a good day. And Wednesdays I get to focus on my business mostly. And it's really just setting aside time for everything. Like what's good about the college level is you have your entire schedule basically for the next month, unless something crazy is happening. Like when we had the bowl game coming up, we didn't know our schedule going forward, but that's very rare. Usually, you have your entire month laid out, and you have to adjust accordingly. Like you're setting up your own schedule. You know what's going to happen, so now you gotta adjust. Like
Mm.
one big thing with classes, I know when my finals are the first day I'm in that class. So it's like, hey, that I can afford to miss, I don't know, this day here if I need to do some other work for my business, or I can afford to miss maybe a class here to get some extra training in, some extra film time. Because I know, hey, I got, an extra 2 weeks until that final or that midterm. So you really just got to kind of balance and adjust everything. Say, hey, what can I afford to do? What can I afford to not be at? Because granted, some things aren't as essential as others. Like, hey, my coach is having an optional meeting today, and I have tutoring for this class, so I'm going to be in tutoring. So I'm going to learn what we're going over anyway. I can, afford to miss a class to go to the extra film time. So it's
Mm.
really just learning, when to cut your losses and when your priorities need to be stacked up at.
Mm.
Yeah, so I think I obviously am not a athlete, so I don't know this question. The red shirts, you're on the sideline with all of them, right?
Yeah. I guess I'm redshirting, so I'm on the sideline in every single game. And now travels, I don't always travel. I get to travel rarely. Because it's really dependent on who all they can bring and who's kind of they need to bring. They're not going to bring a red shirt. I can only play for 4 games. So unless they think I'll be playing this game, they're not going to take me rather than like an extra running back or a backup receiver.
Yeah.
So every home game I'm there, but not every away game.
Have you played at all?
I have not. I've been enjoying my comfortable seat
Yeah.
on the sideline this season. But you know what? There's next
Yeah,
season, which I'm looking
don't you
forward
have a
to.
bowl
Yeah.
game
I'm
coming up
training.
that you're gonna dress out for?
We do January 3rd. We're going to the First Responders Bowl. That's going to be a big one. I'm excited for that. I'll be dressing out for that at the moment.
So one thing I
Where is
have,
that game?
Hmm?
Where is that game?
It's down in Dallas. It's against
Oh,
Texas
that
State. It's
so
going to be a fun one.
you don't gotta go too far.
No, not at all.
so one thing, of course, you transitioned very early. How is it transferring from like high school players where you're like the biggest guy, you're the best guy on that field to college where you got guys that are trying to make it to the pros, trying to make a future for themselves.
Well, what it is you're stepping from being a kid to being a man, and in that world, there are like we have a guy on our team. He's 27, and he's one of the people in front of me. I was an 18-year-old kid. I'm not going to beat out a 27-year-old man. You really kind of learn the difference between someone who's been doing it for so many years. Obviously, there'll be exceptions. There'll be the baller who comes out as a freshman and just dominates, right? And I like to give myself a lot of credit, but I'm not there. I'm not that guy. I'm working on it. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be playing. I'm gonna be getting my field time. But I'm not the level where I can walk out and dominate against full grown men have been doing this for 6, some of even 7 years with COVID and everything. I'm not there, but I'm working towards it. But you really kind of learn you are not you're the biggest fish in the pond, but you just swim to the ocean. You're not the biggest fish anymore.
That was a good analogy.
That's hard.
Yeah.
So, speaking of older players and all that, so what's like the best, like the coolest interaction you had, like an older player, like a coach, or like in college, like a senior, like a coach, like what's the coolest interaction you've had?
Coolest interaction. I'd probably say this. We do this thing called midnight maneuvers, and that's when right, like we literally go until midnight. Like we start at like 10 and we do conditioning till midnight. And then after that, all the older guys took us out to Fry Street, which is like the row, like the fun row, all the bars, all the crazy clubs and everything. And they just brought us around with them. They, introduced us to a bunch of people. There's some sororities there, a bunch of pretty girls. It was just a really fun night. They kind of brought us out, kind of show us the nightlife at the school, which was a great time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not even in high school, but sounds pretty fun.
It was great, man. It was great.
So, and of course, being in college, there are some benefits. What do you think are like the main benefits? Have you gotten any free things? Are you like, is there something where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in college now. I have these huge benefits. These are awesome. Like, is there any new things that are like awesome to you that you wouldn't even imagine of?
Well, I mean, most of that comes with being a football player. If I was just in college, I'd imagine there wouldn't be too many benefits. But they give us a lot of free swag. Like I've gotten 100, hoodies, jackets, sweatshirts, t-shirts, pants, shorts, everything I could need, all the clothing I could ever use. But one of the things that you don't even think about that's really the most essential, as I said earlier, tutors. I cannot tell you how many times I've been like in a class, and usually for harder classes, they just assign you the tutor without even asking. But like I was in a computers class, a business computers, and I was struggling because I just didn't really get it. I didn't understand the professor real well. And then I said, "Hey, can you get some help with this?" They gave me a tutor. I now have I have an A in that class now. Like, I was struggling low B. I was almost going to get C, but then no, and I got an easy A. Like those tutors is really the biggest benefit that would blow your mind because it just accelerates everything.
That's pretty cool. Another thing I thought about, like, you always see these like college players that are like awesome, like the quarterback at Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Do you actually like see stuff happening where there's like a football player that's like going to class? Like, are you like famous on the thing? Like, are there players that are like famous going to class? They're giving pictures, or is it just like, oh yeah, that dude just dropped 40 points in a football game, but he's just going to class. Like, how is it like? Do you see just football players like giving out pictures, doing all this stuff?
I've actually given out a couple of pictures myself, believe it or not. It's really, well, there's some players that's different. Like if you're a star running back, a star cornerback, they'll recognize you like right off the bat. But which I didn't actually know at first. There's a lot of like hoodies and jackets or shirts that you can't get unless you're on the football team. And certain people, especially fans, will like know those shirts. Like they just know it. So I've had guys walk up to me. I was out. Hey man, I know that shirt you play on the team. Yeah, and like asked me questions. They Googled me. Like, oh, it's so cool. Take a picture with me. Maybe buy my lunch. It's awesome. You do get recognition like that. Even if you're not a famous face. Like I'm a redshirt freshman. I'm an offensive lineman too. Like no one should know who I am. But even with that, people walk up to me. It's like, man, you look like you play football. You play at UT. Yeah, all that fun stuff. It's also part of my size helps. But yeah, those famous faces, they get even better. People realize them a little bit quicker than they realize anybody else. So it's always fun.
So it is like if you're like a star football player, or even a football player, you like are a celebrity on campus.
Yeah, especially around, like, I don't know, if you might walk into the, computer science class and you wouldn't be well known, but most places you walk into the lunchroom, you walk out on, those fun streets like Fry Street I'm talking about. Like you go places and that people like to hang out, you'll definitely be recognized.
So obviously that's pretty cool. Obviously, you went to college close to home, right?
Yeah, I'm 30 minutes down the road from my house.
Yeah. So my sister is going to college all the way up in South Dakota. So is there like a big benefit of living close to home? Like, how often are you going home, living that close to college?
Yeah, the biggest dependency is while mom's making for dinner. If she's busting out, fried chicken or she's making meatloaf, I'm definitely home. If we're having, a salad, then I might not be able to make it. But It's great. I mean, think about it. Whenever I need a meal, whenever I don't want to have to pay for it, I just go home. It's there. It's hot. It's ready. It's amazing. Well, I never have to worry about being homesick and see my family. Not to mention, college beds are really small. It's a twin XL, which I do not fit on. I hang off the end of it. So being able to go home and get in my bed that I fit on is amazing, especially after like a long week. So my back's hurting, knees are sore. I get to go on a bed I fit in, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So, what does the like recovery process for a hard practice looks like for you?
Well, they have a lot of things available. Like they have ice baths, they have compression, they have needling, they have cupping, they have all like everything you can think of. When it comes to recovery for me, I like to just pop in the ice bath for a minute, gets my knees relaxed, and then I usually got something to do, so I go to class. Then that night, I have a heating pad they gave me. I like to like heat up my knees before I go to sleep, help relax the muscles, everything, and my thighs as well. And then usually you do a lot of recovery in the morning. I say is the most essential thing, like getting your body warmed up and just doing things like that. Cool, heat, cold, all that kind of stuff before practice is really the best. Don't wait until you're hurting. Start before it gets bad.
So going back to like the
Yeah.
homesick thing, is there like times where you have football players you can tell they're like, I need to see my parents? Like, do you actually see that? Do you have to comfort any players? Like, is it like a huge factor that you see?
You can definitely tell, like during long sessions, like hard weeks, there will definitely be players, and you can hear them. They'll talk about it, how they wish they could go home, like they want to go home, they want to relax, they want to go see people. And it's really like you can't really comfort. I mean, there's nothing much to do to comfort. When you want to see your parents, if you just can't, it is what it is. There's nothing you can really do about it. I mean, you can go have a good night, but it's not going to in comparison to going home. But I think during big games, a lot of those people's parents like they get free tickets, get things to come out, and things like that. It kind of helps, like a star player, he doesn't get to go home. He lives he's 3 states over. His parents get to come out and watch him play. They get to talk to him after the game, and moments like that, it holds you over, gets you through it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is there like
So,
a difference, like high school practices and college practices? There's gonna be a big difference. Is there like different machines or something like that where it's like, oh my gosh, this practice is way higher quality. This is way harder work. Like, is there like something you guys do that like you like it woke you up? You're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be painful.
It wasn't the machines really. I mean, the weight room has a few different toys, but it's like, hey, you used to do let's say 3 rounds of squats, 7 reps. Like, no, we're doing 8 rounds of squats, 10 reps a piece, and you got like 30 seconds to do it. Like you're quick, and that's not much of an exaggeration. That's not heavy weight. Granted, you get a little more time with heavier weight, but it's like you are now a certain expectation of excellence, and if you do not hit that, there will be consequences. Like when we take too long to do a lift, we have up downs, and when we're on the field, if we don't perform the way we're supposed to, well, you can do up downs on the side until you decide to start performing the way you're supposed to. And they're not unrealistic. When you're a younger guy, when you don't know what you're doing, they give you when you get to college, there's like a week-long grace period. Where it's like you get a week to kind of adjust to the speed of everything, and you're not going to be doing the kind of weights the older guys are doing at that speed because you can't yet. Your body cannot do it. After that week's over, if you haven't adjusted at least enough, it gets miserable. You start coming in early and you start doing a lot more extra stuff than you would like to be doing. But they'll keep you very busy until you perform the way you're supposed to. But yeah, it's a whole different ball game. Like you never understand how hard it's going to be till you get there.
so with that whole transition thing, when you first got in the weight room first week and you saw all the seniors like lifting, did you at all feel like intimidated? Like maybe when I'm doing squats and bench, they'll think I'm not as good. Like, or is it just I can do what all the seniors can do better?
Well, I couldn't. I'm not the strongest guy in there, which sucks. I'm the biggest person on the football team, which is cool. But I'm not the strongest person on the football team. I'm up there. I'm the top percentages of the guys, but I can't lift as fast as they can. I'm as strong as they are once. They're as strong as I am 10 times. Like I could match their bench if we did 4 reps. No, I couldn't match their bench. I could be in their group if we did half as many reps as we're doing. But I just can't be that strong as many times as you're doing it. It's less strength that was really hurting me, and more just muscle, conditioning. Like 5 good reps is all I need in high school. They're doing 15 great reps, and I was not there. Like I said, it's speed. It's what it is. It's how many times can you do it and how fast can you do it. They don't need you to get off the line once. They need you to get off the line 80 great times for 80 great plays.
Yeah. So when you first got to adjusting, did you ever? Because I know if you stop for a while, it'll hurt you. Did you ever be at practice, you're running and you're just dying out there? You've thrown up and you just want to be done. What is that feeling like? Is it I gotta keep going, or I need to stop?
Well, it's kind of like this. Dear God, give me the strength to take another step. Because as scary as it is to have to run another lap, it's a lot scarier to think, oh my God, what if I can't run this lap? Because I mean, you're in college now; they'll just cut you. Like if you can't do it, they'll just get rid of you. So it's the fear of failing is higher than the fear of like taking another step, which is kind of what you're going to rely on, especially while you're new. I remember it was 21 10s, and it was the break in between got shorter as we went. So at first, like, you had like a minute, and you're like, okay, I can do this, and then you get to the point where you're like 10 seconds in between, and you're like, oh my God, kill me now. This is horrible. And yeah, no, the reason you keep moving is because like I worked my entire life to get here. I'm not going down now. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna fail here.
Is there like
Is it like
is there like a part of the week where it's like like there's gonna be people that get cut and it's like everybody's fighting for their life? Is there like a hell week and it's like kids are getting cut and you're seeing kids for the last time?
Yeah, we actually went through a massive cut right now. Every time the portal opens, there's a massive cut. Right. So the week, like the month leading into that portal opening, it's scary. Everyone's fighting. Everyone realizes like, hey, I can screw up and I'll be gone. And dude, it's when they have cutting seasons, but you always know if you screw up bad enough, you could get cut in the middle of a season. Right? Like you have times a year with that when they do it, when they kind of get rid of people and bring in new people. So, if you just, you miss one lap or you don't hit the lift right in the middle of the season, you're not going to get cut. No. But there's a week coming up where it's like, hey, if I keep failing, that's the week. That's the week I'm gone. And it's scary. Yeah. You kind of get to see it, especially with older guys, older people who know it's like, hey, they do not, like, they have a lot of people behind me. They get rid of me. They have like 3 guys coming back.
Is there
yeah.
like a seniority like to the seniors? Are they like rough on the freshmen? I heard, of course, there's always the freshman tricks, but is it like what you expected? Are they like pranks? Are they like serious? Like, did you see like, are they the people that showed you that this is like serious business?
Honestly, I didn't get any of that. We came in, it was the same as if we were any other guy. That honestly, it's a lot different than it used to be because I talked to some older guys. They used to mess with the freshmen. They used to have those kind of rituals. Now there is like 1 or 2 exceptions. It was not like, oh, we're playing a prank, and we're like, hey, like I'll just give you an example. We had a day where we needed groups to do karaoke. We know who had to end up doing the karaoke. It was the freshmen from each position group. Like I had to do karaoke, the freshman linebackers had to. Like, that's what we had to do because it was during our hell week and we were all having a meeting supposed to have a little bit of fun. So the people who got assigned basically for the mandatory fun was us. But that's not like, oh, they're give me a wet whirly or they're messing with me. No, it was just kind of like it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun. But everyone was almost new. Like 80% of the team was either from the portal or freshmen, and most of them were from the portal. So they had the older guys, but they've been here for a year or maybe 2 years. They're not exactly, a 5-year vet. And so
Yeah.
there was no like, oh, we know the culture and rituals. Like, no, there is no culture. There's no rituals. We're making it as we go along because there hasn't anyone who's been here for longer than 3 years.
Yeah,
So
so speaking with all like the seniority and like the transition, when was the I'm in college now moment? This isn't high school fun and games.
I would say the end of the first week of the end of the first week of conditioning when I got there, I couldn't go home that weekend because we had events. I was like, I went all week. I haven't seen my family. I haven't seen anybody. Right. I can't go home. And my body wants to die. Like, I am miserable. Everything hurts. This is the hardest thing I've been through. And then I had like an exam that Friday. I was like, oh my God, I'm in the real world now. Like, this is hard. I'm struggling. This is not high school, I get to go home and relax. Like, this is the real world. Like, this is going to hurt. Like, this is hard.
Yeah.
So, is there like during college, are these like guys? They're like, I'm trying to make it to pros. I'm trying to make it to the NFL. Is it like as serious or not as serious as you thought it was gonna be? Like, I always seen it as like these guys are having fun, they're drinking, then they come to practice and it's like all super serious. Like, how is it like from seeing them outside of practice to inside of practice?
Literally 5 minutes before practice, you'll be screwing around the locker room, like just chilling, talking, maybe complaining a little bit. It's like, I gotta wake up early this morning. You're screwing around. The second you walk on the field, it's like it's not the same world anymore. It's a whole different environment. Everyone has a different behavior. And maybe, you'll catch a second where it's like, hey, we have 5 minutes, because we have practice goes for a while and we'll do like a hard period. We'll have like a 5 minute break and you kind of see everyone de-escalate, not to locker room level, but to more like a little more chatty and a little more relaxed. And the second that 5 minutes is over, you're right back into it full steam. And the way you act, at the end of during practice versus the second it's over, you're not the same person. You have to be a different person. The level of intenseness, level of seriousness, the mindset has to be completely different.
So you can like
Not
tell like these dudes are like serious. They're ready to go. This is college football. I'm trying to make it to the NFL.
Yeah, well, not a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people would dream the NFL, but other than like the seniors, they're not what you're thinking. You're thinking of like, oh, I'm doing all this every single step to go in the NFL. You're thinking, I want to perform in this next game. People aren't sitting there thinking, I'm doing this in the NFL. It's like, I'm doing this for my next game. Like, you have to be so focused on every single game. There's no, I want to be somewhere in the future. Or it's like for the second team guys, I'm doing this for my spot right here, right now. You can't let your mind wander that far in the future.
So there's like
'Cause
no dudes that are like oh yeah, this is my spot. Like everybody's sitting there. I can be replaced. I have to like show out every single day.
Yeah, no, 100%. We have guys who get swapped out. Like, our starting line right now is not. We don't have no. We have one person who's on the starting line at the end of spring ball, and that's when you set positions in the spring ball. People are not the same starting spots. Now there are a few exceptions, like our quarterback, amazing quarterback. He was confident. He knew that he was down the spot. He has a bad day. He's walking away at the spot when he goes home. Or we had a lineman, right? He's actually injured this year, so he didn't play. But he was been on every billboard. He's been a 3-year starter. He's been like one of the very few people who actually been here for a while now. Certain guys, like, I know I have my spot, but the only reason they know they have their spot is because the way they perform anyway. They're not scared they're going to lose their spot, but that's because they've earned the right to not be scared through the way they practice every single day.
Mm.
Like, the only time you don't have to worry about losing your spot is when you force yourself to be an absolute different animal than everybody else. And if that's what you're doing, then yeah, you practice that intensely every day, not a fear of losing your spot, because that's who you are. That's what you do. That's the way you perform.
So one thing also, coaching. Like I know from high school you have maybe a 20-person staff. In college, is it like 50 people? There's a trainer. There's all this. And how is how the coaches act, what they're saying? What's the difference between high school coaching and the college staff, college coaching?
Well, first of all, during the season, if you're not starting five, like on for all, I was using O lineman because I couldn't tell you everywhere. I'm going to tell you what I know, but it's not much. From what I've heard, it's not much difference any other position. We have 3 O line guys, right, and then we have a separate coach who does O line scout, which is where I was at for a good portion of the season. The main O line coach, if you're not the starting five, you're not his problem, right? He focuses on 1 through 5. Those are his guys. That is his responsibility. And the only way you're going to get his attention is if you become the starting 5. Now you have 2 backup coaches. Their job is to kind of analyze everyone's physique, analyze everyone's steps, analyze that. Head coach. He works with game planning. He looks at the other team's defense. That's what he does. His job is to know what we're going to do and how we're going to execute it, and maybe like one or two moves that we need to account for. While the two other coaches, they worry about the twos and the threes and the ones too. But their job is technique. Their job is like, hey, how did this guy's steps go? What could he do next to improve? That's what they're looking at. Versus the head coach is like, hey, or the head O-line coach is, hey, how do we win this next game? And going forward, even the scouts, when you're on scout team, you don't work with the main O-line group hardly at all. When you're a scout team player, you don't get to work with the main group hardly at all. You are focused. You are a whole different unit, right? You are trained to become this team's offense or this team's defense. So that's what you're doing. Like when I was like for Army, when I was scout team for Army, I wasn't being trained. I didn't know a single. We added a new play. I didn't know that new play. I wasn't told that new play. I wasn't told to learn that new play. It was irrelevant to my job. I did learn though all of Army's plays. I learned how Army stepped. I learned how Army played because it's just that's what you have to do. So it's very divided in people's attention.
So one thing, like I always hear people say, it's like the difference between NFL and like college. Is there some players where you're like, oh yeah, they're college players. These guys they got a scholarship. Of course they're good, but then is there like players that are like next level? You're like, oh my gosh, they're the star in. No, they're like the sun in a group of stars. Like I don't know if that analogy worked out, but
Yeah, I'm sorry saying like they're the cream of the crop basically.
yeah.
Yeah, no, 100% there are. There's difference between our star running back and every other running back. There's a difference between our best offensive lineman and the third best offensive lineman. Get wrong. There's like a ranking. There's like two guys who are neck and neck, or there might be one guy who's a step forward, but there's people close behind him. But who's in front. Who. There's a reason the person's in front is in front, and you'll very rarely see two people neck and neck. And usually, if they are, guess what? We're running a two. We have a two running back offense. Like we're adjusting. We're both of them getting on the field. The guy who gets in the field the most has earned the right to be on the field the most. And I mean, you see it. It's noticeable. Very rarely is it like, yeah, he's a player. Like we have three other guys who could beat him, but he's there. It's like, well, that's him. That's what he does. He's great at it.
So I don't know who's going to be watching this, but it is the time where players are starting to commit to colleges. Is there any like advice you could give any player going into college, or like tips, or even how to get recruited?
Yeah, make sure whatever you're doing, you hyper focus on fundamentals. Like let's say you are I'm just gonna stick with O-lineman, it's easier. Let's say someone outmuscled you, but your technique to stop it was great. Even if you got pushed a yard or two back, that's a highlight play. Like if your technique, if you perform in a way that's like, wow, that's impressive. Like his like awareness is the way he does it. That was insane. Those are good plays. Like just keep in mind that they're gonna get you faster. Being fast is important, being strong is important, but they can get you faster. They can get you stronger. It's your understanding of the game that's essential when you walk in. Knowing how to perform the way they want to perform. Because guess what? They're gonna either take weight or put weight on. They're gonna have you in the weight room nonstop. Physical development's gonna happen. But you kind of got to show, hey, I understand what I'm doing. I understand that I'm playing. I understand the role I'm assigned. And when it comes to picking colleges, honestly, you are probably with the way it is right now, you're not going to end up at the college you originally picked by the time you graduate. So just keep that in mind. Don't be like, oh, this isn't my dream college. Maybe I should quit. Be like, well, you know what? I could be there a year from now. Like I said, we had a guy. He came in with me as a freshman. He was one of those insane guys. UNT. He's at Kansas right now. Right. He was an insane player, and he is now at a Power 5 school. Right. The world changes so quickly that there's no telling where you'll be. 2 years from where you sign up. That's also another thing. Yeah. Keep in mind the schools around you. Like if let's say you're going to a smaller school in Iowa, but your dream is Iowa State. Well, that smaller school, those coaches from Iowa State are looking at those other schools for who they're going to take in the transfer portal. Like, keep in mind what's around you as well. Like, if you have a slightly better offer in a state that has one good school, then maybe it's not as valuable as a slightly worse offer in a state that has two or three Power Five colleges, because they're going to be looking at what's local. And if those are your dreams to go to, keep that in mind. Plan out the future accordingly.
So that's all
Yeah,
I got.
so
Yeah, Dan, do you
so
want
I've
to?
I've one more question. So after college and like when you're going to college, are you picking because this college is good because I can play football and I'm gonna be good football? Are you saying this college it has good academics and I want to go to school to go to that college?
Um, I did it. My dream is business. What I love. I wanted to be a finance major, and my school has a fast track program for a master's in finance. Now, I chose that. I chose it because how convenient it was in my life. It was close. It was great. It was exactly what I was looking for, and that program kind of sold it for me. I checked out their business situation, and the class, and the room, all that kind of stuff. It was great, great building. So I was really excited to come here, but this was also my best offer as well. So I just kind of got what was perfect. Now, what I would say is if you're choosing between, like I said, that slightly better offer, slightly worse one, and the slightly worse one is lined up for what you want to do with your life, go with it. Because NFL, it's if that's your dream, do not stop pursuing it. But you'd have to be an idiot not to have a backup plan, right? Having knowledge, knowing what you're doing. Not to mention, if you're going to the NFL, you're done at 35. You're still going to want a job at 36. Go somewhere that has the academics you're looking for. Do not. You are at college to get a degree. You're just blessed to also get to play football. Do not forget that. Not to mention, you can't play if your grades aren't good enough. So if you're going and getting a trash degree that you do not care about, you're not going to focus. You're not going to care, and it's going to reflect in your grades. And your coaches are going to they're not going to be happy about it. They want good grades. It boosts their funding. They care about that. And also another thing, you could not be cut because of your grades. We had guys who, because they had great grades, they got kept over somebody else who has similar stats. Their stats are probably a little bit better than theirs, but they got kept because of their grades. The coaches, everyone there, they care about school too. So go somewhere that you're going to value that education.
I'll make sure I have to tell my sister that she's running track up in South Dakota and she's her degree's chemical engineering, so make sure I have to tell her that.
Yeah.
Alright, well
This has been really
That's all.
great. Thank you for coming on to the podcast.
thank you, Lane. We really appreciate
First
that.
thing. So I think we're gonna go on to the next segment right now.
Thanks, Leighton.
And we are back with the next segment.
That was really cool.
Yeah, that was
talking
really
to-
cool talking to a D1
talking to
athlete.
him.
I know a lot of people, me, myself, I'm trying to go D1. That was a really cool, experience.
I'm just trying to make it to college.
Yeah, I know. You don't.
I'm just kidding.
I feel like a lot of people don't realize how different or how important it is when you're in college and playing D1 football. Man,
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go to college I'm probably not gonna play sports.
I think you could get an academic. I think you can get an academic.
I have pretty good grades,
Yeah.
and and one of my sisters might go to ASU, so then I could maybe slide in there too.
So, EastandDan Comeback Player of the Week. His name is Caden Knighted. He's a running back that can
Caden
also
Knighted.
play quarterback. He's a 4-star quarterback and a Baylor commit.
Four-star
Watch out.
prospect. Four-star prospect.
4-star prospect and a Baylor commit. He's a two-sport athlete from Wynwood High School in Oklahoma. You want to tell him
Shout
about
out
his stats?
to Oklahoma. So this kid is insane. His last season,
Oh my
he had
gosh.
on the ground, he had 210 carries for 2,278 rushing yards, which is an average of 10 yards per carry. Ashton Genty this year. Ashton Genty has not even had 10 yards per carry this year. He's averaged 7.3 yards a carry. This kid is going to be something special in the Big 12. And let me go back to my notes. He also, his last season, had 3 games with over 300 rushing yards. He recorded 35 touchdowns on the ground in just 12 games, which is insane. 35 touchdowns in 12 games is almost an average of 3 touchdowns per game. And in his season, he had 4 different games where he had at least 4 touchdowns. 28 points scored by one guy. No NFL, no college players are doing that. That's better than Ashton Genty numbers.
Yeah,
I know it's high school, but still.
And also, I want to point out, he had 43 completions for 820 yards. That's really freaking good. He recorded 9 passing TDs and only 3 interceptions. Not as good as a quarterback as last week, but this dude is the next Ashton Genty. So watch out for this dude on the Baylor. And I think this dude, like, bro, when I was reading this, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but he was just reading it. He's like, what?
Like, this dude is insane. So watch out for this guy. Baylor.
He also had 9. He also had 9 passing touchdowns too.
Remember, this is EastandDan Come Up Player of the Week. We hope to see these guys within the next year or two. So, this is gonna be awesome if we get to see one of these players actually make a come up. We choose these people because we believe they will, and I think this is a very strong prospect.
I was looking through players on 247 Sports, and this kid caught my eye because, last week, Uriah Nullums, I kind of knew him because he was going to ASU. But this week, this kid I've never heard of until now, and now I'm invested into him.
Honestly, we might have to keep up with his story because this guy looks like awesome.
I have a question. Do you think... Sorry, going back to last segment, do you think Layton's in College Football 25? We should check.
I've checked. He is not yet because he's a red shirt.
Because he's red shirt? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he will be next year.
We did our... Easton, you did your research on this player on Layton.
Yeah, I did research. He's at UNT, of course. I've seen some games. So, that's going to be really cool. So, Caden Knighted?
Knighted.
Caden Knighted. That's a pretty cool name. Almost as cool as mine.
So we'll put up
a picture of him. And guys,
we'll put up a picture in his name.
This guy is, I think he's going to be special. And I think this is it for this podcast. I really like this podcast.
Thank you guys.
Our first ever guest on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 13. And I think we should end this podcast with a prayer. Because God is king. So, I think I'll start it. I'll do the prayer.
All right, go ahead, Easton.
Close your eyes. Dear Lord, I just want to thank you for letting me and what I consider my brother do these podcasts. We love doing it. And even though we're still trying to grow, and we've had so many chances where we could have quit, I'm glad we stayed to it, and I'm glad we kept going. And we're going to continue to do these podcasts in your name while praising you. I thank you so much for allowing us to meet each other. I thank you so much for letting us keep ties. And I really think we have a really good brotherly bond. Because most people at this time would have given up on each other, but we haven't. And I think we, even though you might not give us everything that we want, you give us everything that we need. And I think we both really needed each other at this time and during the hard times of me moving. Thank you so much for allowing us to do all these things. I thank you so much. I hope you let everybody that's watching this have a great day. Have a great, hopefully they do these bets that we post on this video. And I hope they hit. I just want to thank you for everything. Like, everything. I can't believe I get to do this with my best friend every single week. This is so awesome. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. So
I think this is going to be the end of the podcast.
We hit a lot this podcast. We have 7 great bets. A 6'8" D1 athlete spilled the secrets about college, and we have Caden Knighted, who will be something special. So we just want to say thank you all for watching this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and all that. So
without further ado, we'll see you guys next week.
Next time.